So you look the cancer victim in the eye. You can see her pain. You can tell she's dying. You have some medicine that can help her, but you don't give it to her. You smile at her gently and you say, "Sorry, this medicine has been used illegally by some people, so you can't have it. But really, get well soon." No. None of us would ever dream of doing such a cruel thing. And yet that is what we are saying every single day that passes without the legalization of marijuana as a prescription drug. Marijuana is currently a Schedule I drug, so it cannot be prescribed. We need to reschedule it as a Schedule II drug so that doctors can legally give it to the people who need it most. Today, I will persuade you to support marijuana as a prescription drug. I hope my evidence will convince you that marijuana has medical merit and is not extremely harmful, is not a gateway drug, and is not extremely addictive. Marijuana can help people, but only if we let it. According to the Controlled Substance Act, an act passed to manage drugs that have at least some potential for abuse, a controlled substance, quote, has no currently accepted medical use and treatment in the United States, unquote. This is not the case with marijuana. The DEA has noted that marijuana helps AIDS patients regain their appetite, reduces seizures in epilepsy patients, and decreases the nausea associated with chemotherapy, to name a few of its aspects. In agreement with the DEA, the National Academy of Science Institute of Medicine states that, quote, there are some limited circumstances in which we recommend smoking marijuana for medical uses. So, marijuana not only helps patients, but its usage is actually recommended by experts in the field of medicine. Furthermore, Lester Grinspoon, a medical doctor and associate professor at Harvard Medical School, states that, quote, studies have examined the brain, the immune system, the reproductive system, and the lungs. These studies reveal little organic pathology associated with the drug, unquote. This shows that besides having countless medical applications, the potential harm from marijuana will not cancel out its potential good. Clearly, marijuana does not belong as a Schedule I drug because it has medical use and treatment. As further evidence for the safety of marijuana usage, consider that under the Freedom of Information Act, the FDA was obliged to release details on the number of deaths caused by 17 drugs frequently prescribed in the place of marijuana. This number was then compared to the number of deaths caused by marijuana itself. According to the nonprofit organization procon.org, in a time span of 8 years, the total number of deaths caused by the prescription drugs was over 10,000. The number of drugs caused by marijuana was 0. It seems that the drugs doctors are allowed to prescribe in the place of marijuana have more potential to physically harm patients than marijuana does. And so on that note, we can certainly conclude that marijuana has enough medical merit and is not too dangerous to be a Schedule II drug. A second reason why marijuana should be rescheduled is that it is not a gateway drug. The gateway hypothesis claims that people who use marijuana will have a psychological need to consume other substances. Well, there's nothing in marijuana that makes a user crave a chemical from another drug. Also, the gateway hypothesis loses much of its credibility when we consider that alcohol and cigarettes are also considered gateway substances. We can conclude from casual observations that not everyone who drinks alcohol smokes cigarettes, and not everyone who smokes cigarettes drinks alcohol. In addition, the gateway hypothesis claims that smoking and alcohol consumption are prerequisites of marijuana use. It's simply inaccurate to say that people who smoke and drink alcohol will need to use marijuana. The gateway theory originated from the fact that people who use marijuana illegally have been known to use many other drugs illegally as well. However, as stated by Grinspoon, Quote, "It is clear that at many times and places marijuana has been used without these opiates and cocaine, and that these drugs have been used without marijuana." Unquote. Illegal marijuana users experiment with other illicit drugs because of the company they keep, not because of marijuana itself. But patients using medical marijuana would not be exposed to drug-using subcultures and so would not have the opportunity nor the inclination to use illegal substances. With this evidence in mind, we can conclude that marijuana should be legally prescribed because it is not a gateway drug. Furthermore, marijuana is not extremely addictive. According to Grinspoon, when marijuana was compared with other semi-addictive substances, it was concluded that nicotine is 6 times more likely than marijuana to cause dependence, while alcohol is 3 times more likely. Even caffeine, which most of us consume every day, was determined to have twice the dependence rate of marijuana. Moreover, many prescription drugs are extremely addictive but are still allowed to be prescribed. For example, the active ingredient in Tylenol-3, codeine, is a narcotic drug and a member of the opiate family, the same classification that heroin and similar drugs have. The Controlled Substance Act defines an opiate as, quote, "any drug or other substance having addiction-forming or addiction-sustaining liability similar to morphine." Tylenol-3 is accepted as being an addictive drug and yet is legally obtainable with a prescription. Certainly, then, a drug like marijuana, which is barely addictive, should be a Schedule II drug. I hope that you are now convinced that rescheduling marijuana so that it can be legally prescribed is the most logical option. Because marijuana has medical merit and is not harmful, is not a gateway drug, and is not extremely addictive, we should not withhold it from those who need it. Support medical marijuana. Give someone hope.